Look around you. The phone you're holding, the fuel in your vehicle, the clothes you are wearing, the medicines in a pharmacy, and even some of the food in your kitchen. There is a good chance that at least part of their journey involved another country. But why? India is a huge country. The United States is a global superpower. China is one of the world's largest economies. Countries across Europe have advanced industries. So, why can't a country simply produce everything it needs by itself? The answer takes us into one of the most important and practical ideas in economics and geopolitics: global trade. The phone in your hand. Let's start with something almost everyone understands: a smartphone. Imagine an Indian company designs a phone in India. That does not necessarily mean every single component is made in India. A smartphone can involve a huge international supply chain. One country might supply certain raw materials, another might manufacture particular components, another might produce specialized machinery. The phone may then be assembled somewhere else and eventually sold in India. And that's just one product. This is called a global supply chain. Different stages of producing a product can happen in different countries. So, when you buy a phone, you are not necessarily buying something made in just one place. You are buying the result of cooperation between multiple parts of the global economy. But why not make everything at home? This is where things get interesting. Suppose India wanted to produce every single component of every phone domestically. It would need the raw materials, factories, highly specialized machinery, engineers, technology, skilled workers, research facilities, and enormous investment required for every stage. Tactically, countries can try to become more self-reliant, but that does not automatically mean it is the most efficient or affordable option. Different countries have different advantages. Some have abundant natural resources, some have large manufacturing industries, some have advanced technology, some have cheaper production costs, some have highly specialized skills. So countries trade because specialization can make production more efficient. Think about your own home. You don't need to be an economist to understand this. Imagine one person trying to grow all their food, make their own clothes, build their own furniture, generate their own electricity, manufacture their own phone, and produce their own medicines. It would be incredibly difficult. Instead, people specialize. A farmer grows food, a factory produces products, a doctor provides medical care, an engineer designs technology, and people exchange what they produce. Countries do something similar, but on a much larger scale. Imports are not always a bad thing. You often hear, why does our country import this? Why don't we make it ourselves? It's a fair question. But importing something does not automatically mean a country is weak. Sometimes importing is simply practical. For example, a country may not have enough of a particular natural resource, or another country may be able to produce something more efficiently, or a particular continent may require technology and infrastructure that aren't available domestically at the same scale. Imports can therefore help businesses and consumers access products and materials that might otherwise be more expensive or difficult to obtain. The important question is not simple. Do we import? It's what are we importing? How dependent are we on it? And how do we have reliable alternatives? And that's where economics becomes geopolitics. Petrol, a real life example of. Let's take something much closer to everyday life. Fuel. India imports a large share of the crude oil it uses. That means international events can affect something you see every day. Fuel prices. Imagine there is a major disruption in global oil supplies. Oil becomes harder or more expensive to obtain. International crude prices can rise. That can increase costs throughout the economy. Why? Because fuel isn't only used in cars. It's connected to transportation. Trucks move goods, ships transport products, factories use energy, businesses transport raw materials. So, an increase in energy costs eventually affect the prices of many other things. This is one reason geopolitical events thousands of kilometers away can sometimes affect your everyday life. What about food? The same principle applies to food. A country may produce huge amounts of food domestically but still import certain products. Why? Because different crops grow better in different climates. Some products may be cheaper or more efficient to import. Some raw materials may be needed by food processing industries, and global events can affect agricultural supply chains too. For example, if a major exporting country experiences a severe drought war or another disruption, the supply of certain commodities can be affected. That can influence international prices, and eventually those changes can reach consumers. Not necessarily immediately and not always to the same extent, but global markets can connect distant events to local prices. Medicines are another important example. Now think about healthcare. You might assume that if a medicine is sold in India, everything required to produce it must have come from India. But pharmaceutical supply chains can be international. Medicines may be manufactured domestically, while some ingredients or chemicals inputs come from other countries. This is why supply chain security matters so much. If a critical input becomes difficult to obtain, production can be disrupted. And this isn't unique to medicines. It can happen with electronics, automobiles, energy, fertilizers, machinery, and many. This is where geopolitics enters. Now we reach the real interesting part. Trade is not just about buying and selling. Trade creates relationships. Countries that trade with each other become economically connected, but that connection can become a strength or a vulnerability. Imagine a country depends heavily on another country for a critical resource. If relations between them suddenly deteriorate, the dependent country could face serious problems. This is why countries care about supply chain security, strategic resources, energy security, food security, technology, shipping routes, and access to important markets. Economic decisions can therefore become the national security decisions. Why shipping routes matter? Here's something most people don't think about. A huge amount of international trade moves by sea, so important waterways and shipping routes matter enormously to the world economy. If a major shipping route is disrupted, ships may have to take longer routes. That means more time, more fuel, higher transportation costs, and potentially higher costs for businesses. This is why places that may seem geographically distant from us can still matter economically. A disruption somewhere along a major trade route can affect businesses thousands of kilometers away. Why countries don't want to depend on one supplier? Now imagine you run a company making cars. Your factory needs a particular component and you buy 90% of it from one supplier in one country. Everything works perfectly until something goes wrong. A natural disaster, a political crisis, a war, a factory shutdown, a transportation problem. Suddenly, your company has a serious problem. This is why businesses and governments increasingly think about diversification. Instead of relying entirely on one resource, they may look for multiple suppliers. The same principle applies to countries. India's strategy. This is particularly relevant to India. India wants to increase domestic manufacturing and reduce excessive dependence on external supply chains in strategically important sectors. That's part of why you hear so much about Make in India. The idea is not simply never import anything. That's unrealistic in a deeply interconnected global economy. Instead, the broader goal is to strengthen domestic capabilities, increase manufacturing, attract investment, develop technology, create jobs, and make supply chains more resilient. At the same time, India continues to trade extensively with the rest of the world because self-reliance does not necessarily mean isolation. It can mean having enough domestic capability that a country is not dangerously dependent on one external source. So, is globalization good or bad? The honest answer is complicated. Global trade has enormous benefits. It allows countries to specialize. It gives consumers access to more products. It creates markets for businesses. It can lower costs. It connects economies. And it can create economic opportunities. But globalization also creates vulnerabilities. A disruption in one part of the world can affect another. Countries can become overly dependent on particular suppliers, and intense competition can create challenges for domestic industries. So, the real debate isn't global trade good or bad. It's how do we benefit from global trade while protecting ourselves from dangerous dependence. What does this have to do with you? Now you might be thinking, okay, but I'm just a student, why should I care about international trade? Because it affects your everyday life. The price of your phone, the cost of transportation, the availability of certain products, the cost of food, the cost of your books, the economy your parents work in, the companies that hire people, the technology you use, even the decisions governments make about foreign policy. When you understand trade, you start understanding why countries behave the way they do. You start looking at international news differently. A conflict is not just about borders. A shipping disruption is not just about ships. An oil crisis is not just about petrol. A trade agreement is not just paperwork. These things can eventually reach ordinary people. The bigger lesson, so why does every country need other countries? Because no country has an unlimited supply of everything. Countries have different resources, technologies, skills, industries, geography, and economic strength. Trade allows them to exchange what they have for what they need. But there's an important balance. Interdependence can create cooperation, but over-dependence can create vulnerability. And understanding that difference is one of the keys to understanding modern geopolitics. So, the next time you hold your phone, fill your vehicle with fuel, buy something at a supermarket, or hear about a conflict happening on the other side of the world, remember, the global economy isn't something happening somewhere far away. It is connected to our everyday lives. The world may be divided into countries, but economically we are connected by millions of invisible links. And sometimes understanding those links helps us understand the world better than simply memorizing a map. Because in today's world, geography tells us where countries are, but trade helps explain how they depend on one another. And that is where economics meet geopolitics. This is Afsana signing off for today. See you in the next video. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep watching me.